But today I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to speak to you from a vulnerable place. It's really hard for me to stand up on stage and not teach you a skill or teach you a principle, because that's what I love to do. But I think that you need to know just a little bit more about me today and who I am as a person, and maybe some of the obstacles that I've been faced with that have shaped me to be the person that I am. And so, we're all faced with decisions in life. Decisions as to whether or not we can become a victim to the circumstance, or we can rise up and overcome an obstacle that is in front of us. And for me, it started with a decision. It started with a decision when I was a junior in college at the University of Pittsburgh. I was getting my undergraduate degree in psychology. It was the spring semester, and I had my internship lined up. I had a summer part-time job that I was going to, and I had just met Matt. We had just started dating, just a few months, and he was gonna go to Baltimore, Maryland for his internship. I mean, honestly, things were great. We had great roommates, we had great friends, we were just enjoying life. And then one day, just in an instant, I started to have some health problems, and I started to get really sick. And every time that I would eat, I would get sick. And it was so bad, and I couldn't figure out what was causing me to have these strong stomach problems, that I started to develop anxiety. And I couldn't control that either, and I didn't want to tell anybody that anything was wrong, because I didn't want people to think I was weird. I didn't want Matt to break up with me. So I just sort of tried to stay in my own little bubble, and I started avoiding social situations. I stopped going out. I stopped doing the things that I love. And if you've ever experienced an anxiety attack before, it is the worst thing in the world. And for me, I would be in the middle of watching a movie with friends, and all of a sudden, my entire body would just go hot from head to toe. And my knees would start to shake, and my teeth would start to chatter, and my heart would just start beating out of my chest. And it felt like I couldn't get the pressure to relieve. And all of a sudden, this just tunnel vision would start to come in, and I could not concentrate on any conversations that I was having, and the only thing I could think about was my exit strategy and how fast I could get out of that situation and get home. And even when I got home, it would take me a good 12 hours to overcome and get myself sort of back down to a state of normal. And this was happening to me sometimes multiple times a day, almost every single day, until I sort of hit my breaking point. It was that summer, I was home, Matt was gone. He was in Baltimore, and I can remember waking up in the morning, tears in my eyes, couldn't get out of bed, and I just knew I had thrown myself into a depressive state, and it was starting to really affect me and everything else in my life. And I remember calling my mom that morning and saying, "Mom, I know that I need to get some help. I know that I cannot go on like this. I needed to make a decision that I was gonna make a change, that I was not gonna let this control me." And even though I made that decision in that moment, it didn't get easy. It just wasn't like all of the symptoms went away and I was fine and I was happy. That was just the start of a 12 to 18 month process of getting therapy, of taking yoga classes, of teaching myself to breathe and meditate and focus on my happy place and learn how to control the symptoms of IBS, but also anxiety. And I will tell you, I am not rehabilitated. I still go through this pretty frequently. I will have sort of a relapse, and I constantly have to work at it. But it started with a decision that day, and a choice, and a few things that I learned along the way that I'm gonna share with you today. So the next thing is this. The minute I made that decision, I needed to have a clear outcome of why I was gonna get up every day and make myself do hard things. And I had to visualize what I wanted my life to be like. What did I want to be 3 to 5 years ago? Who was the Melanie that I wanted to become? Have a job, maybe be engaged or married, buy a house. And I knew that if I stayed in the state that I was in that moment, I wasn't going to be able to get those things. And isn't that our business too? Don't we set goals and determine our why and visualize our outcome and attach our goals in our business to things that have a deep meaning to us and bring us joy? And I thought about, my first 6 months as a Beachbody coach, and I had no idea what I was doing. But I remember setting a goal to earn $500 for the holidays. And I remember thinking to myself, if I could earn $500 for my Christmas presents for our family, how much of an impact would that make on our family? Number one, we were a young couple with 2 small kids living on a single family income, and while we were making ends meet, there was no extra in our budget. And the holidays, while they were a joyous time, if you know my husband, he saves. And it would cause us a lot of stress, and we would argue about money. And so I thought to myself, if I could earn just $500, then that would relieve stress between Matt and I. We could write that check, to our credit card to just pay it all off, and then in January we wouldn't have to worry about scrimping and saving and not being able to enjoy. And I visualized that every single day as I went into my office and I opened my laptop. I thought about my kids, I thought about our relationship, and I kept track on a whiteboard every single time I sold a challenge pack or a Shakeology on HD. I would tally it up until I got to 500. And every time I got an objection, every time somebody canceled, every time somebody, canceled their Shakeology, I thought, keep going, know your outcome. You know why you're working so hard to reach this goal. Don't lose sight of it. It has meaning to you, and it'll be worth it when you get there.